Back there, please give one packet to the back table.
Thank you.
And then please give one packet to this table who doesn't have one. And then place your packet in the middle of your table in order to save some paper. We'll be sharing packets as we go through this speech, and I'll be leading you along. All right, we're going to go through deregulation, and then some political executive orders, and then finally, what is there to help the economy. Deregulation first. The Presidential Executive Order on restoring the rule of law, federalism, and economic growth by reviewing waters of the United States. And I know what you're thinking, water rules, oh my gosh, this speech is going to be terrible. We're already starting with water rights. But actually, there's a story within here because farmers and landowners say that they're already regulated too much, while Democrats say that this is to help make drinking water safe for millions of people. And icing on the cake, Republican lawyers actually have not liked this so much that they've been holding it up in Supreme Courts, much like immigration is happening right now with that, this or other. Anyways, executive order number 2. There were 2 Obama executive orders on federal contracting bidding. Those are out of the water. Executive order number 3. There is a regulatory reform officer for each agency that was supposed to submit a report for their agency and how to reform those regulations. However, this was done on February 24th. Reports were supposed to be in 60 days from then, which would mean that they were supposed to be turned in April 24th of 2017. Now, it's been a month since those reports were supposed to be turned in. We've got a president that's very shoot at the hip, very acting quickly. So I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen really any big regulation hullabaloo from that. And we'll see. There's a lot of reports to be submitted with these orders. Next order. There's one protecting the core principles of the financial system. A group gets together and they try to decide what federal regulations will change, but there's no real direction on this, so we'll see if anything actually happens with it. Next executive order, the reducing regulation and controlling regulatory costs. This is the one where for every one agency that makes a regulation, then they have to remove 2. However, Mick Mulvaney has said that regulatory agencies have very much been afraid of making any new regulations because they're really afraid of taking any away. So we'll see what happens with this for one thing. And then finally, a comprehensive plan for reorganizing the executive branch. And it says that each agency must submit a report about how they want to organize the executive branch, but each agency is even a little bit of a curious word because one source says that there's 430 federal agencies. One federal agency says that there's 270 federal agencies. And then a third federal agency says that there's 127 federal agencies. So, how many federal agencies are there? Nobody knows. So many questions, so little time. On to the next section, political executive orders. So this next one, and I call it political because they're a little, who knows, maybe they're just done to give a win for some political issues. Anyways, there's one for an advisory commission on election integrity. This is page 4 of your manuals, by the way. This has no goal or group or deliverable to give for election integrity, so we'll see if anything happens. The next one is free speech and religious liberty, and if you look down in the line, of this order, it says, in particular, the Secretary of Treasury shall ensure to the extent permitted by law that the Department of the Treasury does not take any adverse action against any individual, house of worship, or other religious organization. Now, I don't know about you, but the Department of Treasury's never called me and asked about the religions that I'm practicing. However, if that was happening to you, now you don't have to worry about it. We got an order for you that takes care of that. Next, a succession within the Department of Justice. Now this one's pretty boring. Tons of federal stuff's boring. This is one of them. Basically, if the Attorney General and their 2 subordinates can't do their job, then the Eastern District of Virginia takes over. then North Carolina, then an attorney from the Northern District of Texas. We'll take that job if 5 people can't do it for some reason. Next, February 28th, the White House initiative to promote excellence and innovation at historically black colleges and universities. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but what does America get? And the answer to that question is, well, we get a webpage on ed.gov that says exactly that. White House initiatives on historically black colleges and universities, and some grant opportunities, and a Twitter account. So if you're interested, you can follow at WHI_HBCUS. Really rolls off the tongue like anything from the federal government would. And next, page 6 of 11, we have another, that's right, succession of order within the Department of Justice, even in the boring laws. There's drama, there's debate, because, as you'll see, this was in February, so this was the earlier one. Basically what happened was Illinois had the number 5 spot, and they got knocked out by North Carolina. Who knows why? Next, Missouri had the 6th spot, and they got knocked out by Northern Texas. So, watch out for Northern Texas, everybody. They've got your number. They're going to try to take your job. Okay, and finally, there was an ethics commitment made by leaders of agencies. There are 9 different things that they must pledge before leading such agency. Anyways, you know, no real measurable or deliverable, but hey, they're being ethical. Yeah. Last section, economics. I know, we're almost done. We're at page 8 of 11. So there's 3 on trade. The first one is going to be addressing trade agreements, violations, and abuses. So this is where a bunch of people get together and they will create a PDF on October 2017 to give to the president that will discuss trade agreements. But then there's some other trade organizations too that will be helping with this cause. As we look at the second order on this list, we established an Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy. They don't have any deliverables, but hey, they've got an office now for trade. But they'll have to watch out for this third executive order, which also just came into the mix, which is the Omnibus Report. And with a name like Omnibus, it's the report to end all reports about trade. This is the report, the Omnibus Report. And basically, 7 organizations shall prepare and submit to the President an omnibus report on significant trade deficits. So around July, we might hear about some stuff going on in trade because our President seems to be, maybe he'll jump quicker on that instead of regulations, which he hasn't for a month. All right, next 2 orders on the economy. We go to energy, and you will see a map that shows where there's oil exploration that's being proposed, both in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico and northern Alaska. So if you've ever thought there was oil in northern Alaska, you were right, and better yet, you can start getting it right now. And the second order just says, hey, there's regulations in energy. If you find them and they're slowing you down, then give me a PDF and I'll maybe change energy policy. All right, 3 more. You're doing great. We're at page 10 of 11. We're almost there. We're almost done with the 20 executive orders. All right, now there's promoting agriculture and rural prosperity in America. And so this takes 21 different offices, and then 22, which just says anybody else who has something they'd like to contribute to this, go ahead and let us know. We'll put it into the agricultural report. Anyways, we'll get a PDF. Trump will get a PDF. Maybe we'll get the PDF online. Who knows? But that'll happen October 2017. So there'll be some agriculture regulations. Next, there's a group that is going to decide if there are tax and regulatory burdens at the end of July. There will be a report. And finally, we started off with a dry topic, and we are going to end with an even more dry topic. Anti-dumping. I don't know what it is, but apparently there are importers that are dumping things into waters, and the United States government should be finding them and collecting fines for those dumping rules that are not being followed. Anyways, those fines aren't being collected, and so there's more of an initiative to perhaps collect those fines. We'll see what happens, but maybe the economy will get an extra $2 billion so we can have better Christmas presents this year. We'll see.
Yay.
That is the report. Now you're a more informed citizen. Thank you, Toastmasters.
All right, people, we have a minute. We're judging Joe.